Today I want to teach you how to create the perfect film pitch, either for a crowdfunding campaign or for a networking event, or even to start first conversations with an investor. What's up everybody, this is ZB from Cine, where we teach you how to fund, market and distribute your indie feature films. If you want to learn how to make your own profitable indie films, then hit that subscribe button. Today we're going to be talking about how to create the perfect pitch for your film, and I'll show you some great examples as well. At Cine, I've held over 100 film networking events, and I've listened to literally thousands of filmmakers pitch their films. About 90% of the time, I am so bored. But I'm going to teach you today a sure way to hook whoever is listening in so that they want to hear more and more about your film. So first thing is first, I want you to set aside everything that you've learned about pitching films. Everything including finding that piece of gold and finding the one thing that makes your film unique, and how to pitch the story and how to bring out the characters and make them the most enticing. Forget about all of that. Whenever people pitch their films to me, there's one thing that I found. If they started off with a real story, it suddenly makes it so much more interesting. If it's a real story, it's so much funnier, it's so much more dramatic, it's so much scarier. No matter what kind of story it is, if it's real, it hooks you in, it draws you in, and it lets you connect with that filmmaker that's pitching the film to you. So what I like to do is to always start off with a personal story. A personal story about why you decided to make this film. Or something real that the other person can connect with, that will really hook them in. So let me give you a couple of examples. The first one is from a short film that I produced, which is a short film about mental health, for which we crowdfunded $30,000 a couple of years ago. This was a short film about mental health, and at the start I approached the pitch in a very traditional way. I would start off by telling people that we need to make more films about mental health, and that my film was going to be special because it's actually going to be inspirational, and it's going to show people what they can do to help. And it's going to show that small acts of kindness can have a massive impact on our well-being in the society. And every single time I could see that everyone was just so bored. I mean, they agreed with me, but they were so bored. So I decided to start telling people the true story of why I wanted to make this film. Someone very close to me, who is going through a really tough time, suffering from depression and anxiety, wanted to take her life one day. She went into work knowing that this was going to be her last day. She sat at her desk, just completely blank, with nothing to do, nothing there, knowing that this was going to be her last day. And one of her co-workers saw that she was struggling. She walked up to her and asked her how she was. But not just a, "Hey, how are you?" It was a really asking deeply, "How are you? Are you okay?" And she asked if she wanted a cup of tea. And that tiny act of kindness saved her life that day. It was the reason why she didn't take her life, because it showed that this small act of kindness meant that people care about her, that people would miss her when she was gone, and that really spiraled into positive thoughts that made her change her mind. And when she told me that story, I just knew that we needed to make a film about this, because it taught us two things. It taught us just how fragile a life can be, but it also taught us that kindness is powerful. And that's why we decided to make a film that really portrays how small acts of kindness can have a massive impact on other people's lives. And when I made a pitch like that, people started asking, "So, okay, tell me more. What is the film going to be about? What are the characters going to be? What kind of mental illnesses are you going to be talking about? You know, what are other things that people can do to help in these situations?" But it showed that saying a true story really, really helped. It helped people relate to you, it helped to hook people in, and it helped to make people care about your project. Now, you might tell yourself, "Well, I don't have a story like that, I just decided to make a short film." So let me give you a couple of other examples. The first one is from a comedy web series called Guides, which explores tour guides in London. Two actors came to me and they said they wanted to do a comedy web series about tour guides. They told me that they actually used to be London tour guides and that the craziest things used to happen and they really want to make a comedy web series about it. They would tell me about, how great the characters will be and how funny the dialogue will be, but nothing was really hooking me in. So I said, just tell me a real story from when you were a tour guide, something funny that happened. So one of the actresses said, okay, you know what? I'll tell you about the first day that I was a tour guide alone on a bus. It was my first day. I just went through all the training, so I got on a bus full of people, grabbed the microphone, we started driving through London. I was telling them about all the different monuments and all the different buildings. People were asking me questions and engaging, and it was great. I knew all the answers. Everything was going fantastic until this kid started to piss out the window. What do you do in that situation? Oh, and the mom is sitting right next to the kid. She sees that he's peeing out the window and she's not doing anything about it. I mean, what do you do in that situation? So I was standing at the front of the bus thinking, I need to make a web series about this. And this is a great example of a story that simply inspired you to make the film. Think of that moment that you thought, I want to make a film about this. Think of that story and how you can tell it in a really, really engaging way. Now, you might also be in a situation where you literally have no inspiration for the story. There is no real story that you can draw from. And in this case, I want to show you another example. Now, this was a short film about assisted suicide, and it explored the story of two women who were dating each other, one of which was going through extreme depression, extreme anxiety, and wanted to take her life. So she reached out to her partner and she asked her to help. Now the partner had this massive dilemma, and that's where the pitch came from, because the pitch was simply a question. And whenever the producer would pitch this film, she would always start off with this extremely engaging and thought-provoking question. If your partner was going through such intense depression and anxiety and you couldn't make your partner happy, would you help them commit suicide in order to stop their pain? And whether it was at a networking event, at a pitching competition, on their crowdfunding page, or even when they were just talking to their family and friends about this project, whenever they would ask this question, it would make everyone stop. It would truly engage them, it would draw them in, and it would make them want to know more about the project. And specifically, what did the character choose to do? And what would they do in that position? So if you can't think of a personal story of why you decided to make this film, think of a question, a really, really thought-provoking question, because questions are great in drawing people's attention and making them focus on what you're saying. Now the truth is, if you do this first bit correctly, and if you've really hooked people in, the rest is easy, and the rest you already know. You know your film better than anyone. You know how to talk about your film, your characters, your story. And once you hook someone in, you can do all that. But unless you draw them in, unless you grab their interest at the beginning, no matter how good the pitch is about your actual film, no one's going to be listening. I hope you found this video useful and that will help you create your own pitch for your film. If you're looking to find more ways to fund, market, and distribute your own indie film, then hit that subscribe button below.